Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host Ahmad Nawaz. Our top story tonight is going to be the English Cricket Board that has now cancelled its tour to Pakistan of both men's and women's team. Of course, they were coming for a limited overs tour of Pakistan, but they have withdrawn, citing security concerns once again. England's not the first team. Before that, we knew that it was New Zealand. Chairman PCB Mirza had a lot to say. He said that he was utterly disappointed, but at the same time, he also said that this is a wake-up call for the Pakistan cricket team now to become the best team in the world, so that these different playing nations can now come to Pakistan without any excuses. But at the same time, we've also seen double standards today, because we knew that New Zealand women were playing a match against England women in Leicester, where there was a supposed bomb threat that was sent through an email, but that was rectified and the match went on. That's the official statement that came in. So we see these double standards now coming on. And also, I think a lot needs to be said about the repercussions for these decisions for Pakistan cricket in general. We'll be discussing all about this in tonight's show. I'm very honored to be joined by the Director of Sports and Syndication at PTV, a cricket historian himself as well, loves the game as all of us do, but more than us probably, Mr. Dr. Nauman Niaz. Assalamu alaikum, sir. How are you?
Walaikum salam. I'm absolutely fine, but not at ease.
Not at ease indeed as well. We'll continue the discussion with Dr. Saab, but we've got a report by the team of Sports Extra. Let's go take a look and then come back.
The England and Wales Cricket Board have withdrew both the men's and the women's teams from the next month tour of Pakistan. They have cited concerns about travelling to the region as the reason to them abandoning the tour. The ECB's decision to call off the historic tour, which would have been the first ever by an England women's team and the first by their male counterparts since 2005, comes 3 days after the New Zealand men's side withdrew from the limited over series in Pakistan, citing the security alert from the government. The England men and women's teams were each scheduled to play two 2020 international matches on October 13th and 14th in Rawalpindi, with the women's sides due to stay for a 3-match one-day international series from October 17th. ECB released a statement saying, ECB board convened this weekend to discuss these extra England women's and men's games in Pakistan, and we can confirm the board has reluctantly decided to withdraw both teams from the October trip. The mental and physical well-being of our players and support staff remains our highest priority, and this is even more critical given the times we are currently living in. We know there are increasing concerns about travelling to the region, and we believe that going ahead will add further pressure to a playing group. This pullout from their commitment is a huge disappointment for the entire nation, and especially for the PCB, who has worked tirelessly to host the return of international cricket in Pakistan. And as said by the PCB chairperson Mirza, they have indeed failed a member of their cricket fraternity when it needed it the most. Whereas Pakistan team had toured England last year despite the COVID-19 pandemic being at its peak.
There you have it. That report details the sequence of events that have taken place since the last couple of days now, and discussing these further now with Dr. Nauman. Sir, first of all, the tweet that Chairman PCB Mirza shared, it said that they have failed a member of their cricketing fraternity.
Absolutely, and I personally feel that it is auguring well for Pakistan cricket in a sense that someone as astute as and as bold as Mirza, he has taken over as the chairman of the Pakistan Cricket Board. I personally feel that not only England has failed us, but they have betrayed us. And the reason is, if you could remember that they were in dire straits because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and they were about to lose £450 million, and they were struggling. And what transpired was that Pakistan agreed to play a series, and they were kept in a hotel which was just next to the ground, and they were in quarantine, and they just rose above themselves and they played that series. And as far as ECB is concerned, New Zealand cricket, ECB, they have backed off, and they have backed off their commitments. So there's one breach when it comes to the work ethics and work morality. And I think they should be, their heads should go down in shame. Security threat, targeted security threat, well, even if it was the case, New Zealand, they had no cheeks. They shouldn't have just left taking a unilateral decision, because they were already in Pakistan practicing at the Rawalpindi Cricket Stadium, and it's not on. Simple as that. Because they should have taken the Pakistan Cricket Board and the government of Pakistan into confidence. And if there was a problem, I know what happened at the backdrop was one of the emails was sent from Singapore to the Minister of Securities of New Zealand, and that is Andrew Little. And that unfortunately had an IP address which was not from Singapore. So we exactly know what's happening, and maybe it is just in a bad taste, but I do not want to get into the politics. But at the end of the day, it's so true that we are now having the repercussions, whatever is happening in Afghanistan. And again, it is a geopolitical situation, and where Pakistan just went above everything, and they really helped them to evacuate their soldiers. So I don't know what's happening. Secondly, now what I would like to say, it is a very dangerous train. The repercussions you want to discuss about Pakistan, yeah, in near future, we may well be in a quagmire. The reason is that probably Australia is also going to back off. And this is like white versus the rest. Unfortunately, it's not a racist remark. I am going to explain it, I'm going to elaborate, and that is that elitism is to me an apartheid. If you could ban South Africa in 1969-70, and just because of the apartheid and the racial discrimination. So what's this? This is elitism. And there's no space for elitism or superiority in the cricketing world. Secondly, unfortunately, ICC has just shown its toothless face. They're absolutely toothless. Being a legislative body, at least they should have tried coming out with a solution and to reach a resolve. But it's not happening. So that again clearly shows that their president is a Kiwi. He's a New Zealander, and he was supported by the Big Four. So time has come that this disparity has to be eliminated. Otherwise, life is cyclical, and this is going to harm cricket. It has already polarized cricket. I think yesterday the former Pakistan captain Rashid Latif, he suggested in one of my YouTube shows that time has come that we should have -4. And that should be led by Pakistan. And this is going to hurt international cricket. And this means that ICC is just a stooge, and BCCI, because of the impact, the financial impact and the deep market, they are just ruling the roost. What happened in England? You want to tell me that I'm a buffoon? That they just decided not to play the final test match. And ECB was quiet and mum. And what a coincidence that the chartered flights were taken the same evening, and they reached Dubai because they needed to complete the quarantine before representing their franchise in the IPL. So this means this cricket has been hijacked by the Indian Premier League. So what's going on? We are the full members. If ICC is a legislative body, it has to run on the full member votes. So why? Okay, in cricketing terms, you may say that Australia, New Zealand, India, and England, they are really superior. England not in test match cricket, at least. They are superior in terms of their cricketing ability and the way they are actually executing their game. But we are full members, and cricket is a name of equality. If you remember, C.L.R. James once said that cricket is a beautiful game where a black bowler holding a red ball bowls to a white batsman.
Yes.
So what are we doing? This is ridiculous. And I think Peter Oborne rightly said that this is intellectual dishonesty and hypocrisy and absolutely pusillanimous on behalf of the England Cricket Board and the President.
It has been exposed. Would you agree with the Chief Executive of the PCB when he said that we have been given the prospect of playing at neutral venues, but we won't?
I think this is the best thing which Pakistan could do at the moment. Why should we be taking everything on us? And yes, it's going to hurt the Pakistan cricket financially, but why should we be forfeiting the opportunity? What's wrong with Pakistan? You and I, we are sitting in a studio. We just go out, we live, we breathe independently. There's nothing. There's no security threat. So it is again unfortunate and regrettable that at Leicester there is actually a threat.
Yes.
A bomb explosion threat. And England is playing against New Zealand. So what's this? This is actually, they are trying to push Pakistan aside, and it is more than the game, it's more than cricket. It's dirty politics, and it is, I will say that this is the intolerance of the Big Four when it comes to the rest of the world. And again, I say that now we should, I personally believe that an opportunity lost is actually your future restored. So I am very sure that South Africa, West Indies, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh always be in the grey zone because of the influence they have from India. So at the end of the day, this island is Zimbabwe. Why not to, okay, if the Big Four wants cricket to be polarized, and if they think that money talks and every rest of the world runs the marathon, it shouldn't be the case.
Shouldn't be the case. And like Dr. Saab mentioned, this might open up some new avenues. There is a silver lining to this. We've been joined now on Sports Extra by senior sports journalist Mirza Iqbal Baig. Iqbal Bhai, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Sports Extra.
Wa alaikum assalam, Ahmad. Thank you very much.
Iqbal Bhai, in all your years of covering cricket and various sports, I'm sure you've never seen something as disappointing as this. What is the take of the entire fraternity at this moment? As Dr. Saab was also mentioning that he is also not at ease. So do you also believe that it's not just the nation of Pakistan, but cricket lovers all around the world are utterly disappointed?
Yeah, definitely. All around the world, the lovers of cricket have been disappointed. And I think, Ahmad, that once again, big three is emerging. Although India hasn't come on the forefront, but it looks that after New Zealand and England, and now it will be the turn of Australia. So these countries, they are running the show. They are running ICC. People say that ICC is Indian Cricket Council, and now the new chairman of ICC, Greg Barkley, he belongs to New Zealand, and he has got all the blessings of Indian Cricket Board. So it looks that once again, big three is emerging, and now it has become big four, because New Zealand has also joined them, and they'll be definitely supported by Afghanistan, because India provided the home ground to Afghanistan cricket team. So it looks that cricket is going to be polarized in the coming days.
Definitely, it would be. And would you also agree, like I mentioned, that Pakistan has now come up with a very strong stance? People are applauding the fact that the chairman PCB, Ramiz Raja, chief executive Wasim Khan, are very straightforward on this, that there would be no home series on a neutral venue.
It was Wasim Khan, Ahmad, who insisted that Pakistan should tour England when COVID-19 was on its very high. And after that, this year we also visited England, and we also visited New Zealand under very difficult circumstances. So now it is the turn of those countries to return it to Pakistan, but England backed out despite the two T20 international matches. They refused to come to Pakistan. So it means that now we will have to adopt a strict stance on this issue. And Pakistan is not an ordinary cricket team. Pakistan has won 50 overs World Cup. Pakistan has won T20 World Cup. We have won Champions Trophy. So they shouldn't take us lightly. I think that now it's time that Pakistan should face all these difficulties with courage and with confidence. And Pakistan should see eye to eye to those countries who are trying to isolate Pakistan from international cricket.
Definitely. Iqbal Bhai, thank you so much for joining us on Sports Extra. Right, sir, like you mentioned and you clarified what actually happened with the New Zealand cricket team. Federal Minister for Information and Broadcasting, Chaudhry Fawad Hussain, today also, when he was asked in a press conference about this prospect, whether it was discussed in the federal cabinet meeting with the Prime Minister Imran Khan, he said it was, and they have certain details about what's happening, and him and the Interior Minister Sheikh Rashid will release them in a couple of days in front of the public, and that's what they should do, because we need to publicize these things. But he also talked about a very daunting fact, and that is, of course, the financial losses incurred to Pakistan Television. Because you handle sports and syndication, you're the director of it. Would you also like to clarify on this for the people to know that it has cost us financially?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Before I get into the intricate details and reply to this question, I must also say that cricket actually now has become enigmatic. And if you obviously you also have love for the history. As far as I'm concerned, cricket was first badly impacted. That was by biased umpiring. Then there was a case of professionals versus amateurs. Then there came a controversy in 1932-33 of bodyline, and which actually left the world in a quandary. And then came this drag, that front foot no ball, and the drags which were there, and again chucking, and then match fixing, ball tampering,
trying to eliminate reverse swing.
Yeah, and and yeah, again, I would like to tell you one very interesting fact. Then when we were reverse swinging, it was ball tampering. When Simon Jones did it and won the Ashes for England, that was skill. So that they have always been intellectually dishonest, and unfortunately, we haven't been able to stand up. And now time has come, and I just love Ramiz Raja's stance. and I think this will leave an impact. Now, coming on to your question, yes, definitely we have been financially inflicted. Why? Actually, we have signed a media right agreement with the Pakistan Cricket Board on the basis of exclusivity. So once it is on the basis of exclusivity, if you have high profits, you also have high losses. So now what has happened that this New Zealand tour, it was sold, and the commercial airtime, it was already like in the market, and it's going to hurt us like up to 350 million rupees minimum. So these two tours called off. And then, you know, we also have a forecast. And if Australia doesn't come, then we are in for a run. So yes, it has inflicted us badly. And again, it's quite unethical that Pakistan Cricket Board must have incurred heavier losses still because of the expenses they were going through, like the security and, you know,
lodging
organizing the matches and lodging and boarding and air travels and insurances, etc. So, but now when it comes to television broadcast rights, yes, it has severely dented us.
Severely dented us as well. It's time now for a short break, but stay tuned because when I come back, I want to discuss the prospect. As Dr. Saab just mentioned, we need to stand up. It's about time we stood up because in the past we've seen that we've actually bowed down to some of the big names in the cricketing world. So how do we stand up as a nation? Do we agree with where the chairman PCB said that the Pakistan team now needs to be more resilient? And also the fact that let's talk about the ICC more after this break. Stay tuned to Sports Extra. Welcome back to Sports Extra. We'll continue the discussion with Dr. Nauman Niaz. Sir, the way forward now is being discussed.
Well, the way forward, number one, that we have to stand high. Number two, we shouldn't be disillusioned. We have passed many testing times before. Number three, we have to be pragmatic. Number four, we have to be realists. Number five, that any action shouldn't be reactive. It should be well contemplated. And not going offshore, fantastic. It may incur a heavy cost burden. Okay, we are going to sustain that. Now, for that sustenance, we should have like a collateral stream from where the Pakistan Cricket Board can earn revenue. So the franchises, they should be brought on the table of the Pakistan Super League. And number one, we should expand our Pakistan Super League. We should try to get the best foreign talent playing in our league. We have to, expand our financial outlay. We have to reduce the burden on the Pakistan Cricket Board, because if you see, they spend almost rupees 1.5 billion to host domestic season every year, and now after increasing 100,000 rupees per player salary of 192 cricketers, that means that about 190.50 million a month, and that means almost 2.3 billion additional expense. So this means that Pakistan Cricket Board, without any return on investment, shall be spending about 3.5 billion a year. So now if there are no home bilateral series, and if you are not playing your series offshore, then we need to quickly ensure that our 6 regions, they should become autonomous, and they should have the corporate communication on. Then we should have a full Pakistan Super League calendar. Not only that the franchises, they just wake up at the fringe of the tournament when it's starting. They should have a calendar, and they should have like complete programming on that. And then the broadcast rights, they have to go, so they have to be like dealt with accordingly.
So give them regions?
Rights, yeah?
Give them regions?
Yeah, of course. And then again, you have to get back, I'm not saying that you have to get back to the department format of cricket, but you have to get back to the departments and ask them to become the major stakeholders.
As sponsors.
And, yeah, but then then the Pakistan Cricket Board has to ensure intellectual honesty, which wasn't the case in the past. But with Ramiz Raja in, I'm pretty confident that things are going to move forward. So then you have to improve your cricketing ability. You know, Pakistan team is the middle tier team when it comes to the ICC ratings or our
Rankings
presence and the
yes.
rankings. So at the end of the day, we have to improve the cricket qualitatively, and we have to become financially robust. So what has India done? It is as late as 2007 when they just got up and realized that the Indian Premier League could become you know, the benchmark, and then they actually explored the market for the first time. And I am not going to get into that debate of the white market and the black market, but at the end of the day, a word commercialism, I call it vulgar commercialism, has helped India to install, you know, and to add the institutional essence to their cricket. So why can't we do that? We have been much superior when it came to television. If you remember that it was Pakistan who actually stirred the England Cricket Board and the TCCB to move the Prudential World Cup out of England. And the Reliance Cup was played in Pakistan and jointly in Pakistan and India. But Pakistan, they actually took the lead. And Pakistan has always been very strong. Abdul Hafiz Kar, representing Pakistan on the ICC, was the one who actually, you know, came up with the idea that apartheid was unacceptable. Cricket was a game of equality. So South Africa, after the Basil de Oliveira affair, they were banned. And then Australia and England, they had a right of veto. He said, we are also full members. So you are not superior. So why should you have 2 votes and we should have one vote? Yeah. So that one vote system came because of Abdul Hafiz Kardar. Then we were the one who helped Ceylon, now Sri Lanka, to get to the full member status. Then we helped Bangladesh. We were the first one sending our club teams to Bangladesh to play cricket. And that's where the cricket attracted the Bangladesh people of Bangladesh. So we have always been taking the lead. But there is no point we should be distressed. There is no point we should be disillusioned. We should carve our own niche, and it is all practical. We can do it, but now it has to be an integrated effort. Personal interest and vested interest, it has to take the back seat and cut for role people. They are required now to work as stakeholders in or outside the Pakistan Cricket Board. So that I don't see any reason that it may well take time. And we have to be patient. It may well exhaust our patience. But now we have to ensure that our Pakistan Cricket Board becomes an institution, and it has to be run on the corporate lines. And they have to have collateral revenue earning streams, and we have to actually now enhance our financial base. And that's how we are going to move forward. And we should not be intimidated. We should not be disheartened.
Disheartened is a word that we don't want to look, because we are a resilient nation. Yeah. Just talking about the war on terror, more than 70,000 lives lost, billions of dollars in infrastructure damage, so much that Pakistan has done. But all of this scenario, sir, because the team's going into the World Cup next month, how does it play on the mind of the players, especially the captain, vice captain, everybody involved? Because now the statement has come from the chairman saying that you got to do best in the World Cup. This is a wake-up call. And I think more hype than the India game is probably going into the Pakistan versus New Zealand game now.
Okay, I agree. I tend to agree. But at the end of the day, saying that we have to maximize our abilities and to play ICC World T20, we have to be very determined. But at the end of the day, I disagree to an extent that the quality of players picked on the Pakistan team to participate in the T20 World Cup. We have to keep our hands here, and we have to close our eyes, and we have to take a deep breath and then say that is it the best team that we are sending? And if it's not the best team, we still have time. So let's send the best team, and then believe that the players, they are going to rise above themselves. And yes, they have to marginalize and minimize their weaknesses, and they have to maximize their talent. They have to adjust situationally. They have to add a little flavor when it comes to passion and aggression. And it's not like that every power hitter is of quality. So yes, the concept of power hitters playing for Pakistan at 5, 6 or 4, 5 and 6. But do we really think that we have Kieran Pollards and Andre Russells or David Millers? No. So then we may prefer the game of angles. Like I personally feel that it was sad to see that Sarfraz Ahmad, when it comes to UAE and playing against quality spin, and the man who can actually improvise, he is not part of the team. Shoaib Malik is not part of the team. Nawaz, who picks up 20 wickets, and majority of his wickets coming during the PSL 6 when it was played in the UAE. And the man who has aggression, the man who has passion, the man who has energy, and he electrifies the field when he takes the field. We have left him out. We picked him up for the test matches. He never played any in the West Indies, and now we have left him out. So do we really believe that Asif Ali's and Azam Khan's and Khushdil Shah's, they are going to fire at all cylinders? So again, I have doubts. So at the end of the day, this should become the opportunity and the reason now to be absolutely intellectually honest while selecting the players, because now much more is at stake.
At stake. A wake-up call indeed, as it has been mentioned. Yeah. Final thoughts about cricket in Pakistan now, because this is going to impact it. People are disheartened. We have to talk about the fact that our domestic National T20 Cup is coming up in Rawalpindi Cricket Stadium. They're holding most of it here and then in Lahore as well. Then, of course, we've got second 11s, we've got the youth structure. Definitely they would be impacted by it.
Of course, no bilateral series at home means that people, and look, okay, let me give an example. A child, my son hadn't seen our top players playing in Pakistan. So obviously it hurts, and it hurts bad. You need to have role models. I personally feel that the quality of cricketers we produced in the 1990s and the early 2000s, prior to this 9/11 and then this terror thing, was far more superior than the quality of product now we see representing Pakistan. There were fast bowlers. I can tell you that about 5 or 6 fast bowlers were 145 kms or 150 plus. Jafar Nazir never played for Pakistan. Hasnan Kazim never played for Pakistan. Nadeem Iqbal never represented his country. So I can just tell you that they were batsmen of the highest quality, but nobody could match Inzamam ul Haq's or Basit Ali's and Moin Khan's and Amir Sohail's and Saeed Anwar's. So those players, they came from the same system. Now, again, time has come that we have to focus on our domestic cricket. We have to have honest selections. We have to identify the player pathways. We have to have the train the trainer programs, in place. And no wonder that we are going to get back to the avenues from where we really belong.
The roots that we talk about. What about the infrastructure development?
And mind you, we can still have international cricket in Pakistan. Okay, forget about Australia, India,
England, New Zealand,
and England. Forget about them. Try to have a triangular or a quadrangular with South Africa, if there is a window, South Africa, West Indies, Sri Lanka, and Afghanistan. You still have Zimbabwe and Ireland. Why can't we have a quadrangular? At least the international cricketing activity in Pakistan will keep us away from complete isolation, as we saw what happened. That was 3rd of March 2009, and then we struggled till 2019, though Zimbabwe came in 2015, and then an international World 11 came, yes. And then West Indies B team played in Pakistan. Then Sri Lanka played one T20, and then obviously Bangladesh, the full side came in 2019-20, and prior to that the full Sri Lankan team, rather not the full Sri Lankan team, but Sri Lanka came here in 2 legs. First they played the one-day internationals and then
the test matches.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, sir, does this also give us an opportunity to reflect on our infrastructure development, especially as far as the stadiums are concerned? Because that's been a prime responsibility. If we look at this from a security perspective or the logistics involved, then in many places around the world, we see a stadium housing a hotel and many other facilities. In Pakistan, it becomes a bit difficult.
I tend to agree. Now, I'm going to give you another example, because analogies are always better to support your argument. 1969-70, South Africa is thrown out of international cricket. And still they have the world's best cricketers, and they were producing one after another. We had Barry Richards, Clive Rice, Graham Pollock, Peter Pollock, and then came Garth Leroy, one of the fastest bowlers ever to play representative cricket. And there were so many others. There were Jeffries and there were McEwens, and the list moved on. Dave Richardson's, they played when South Africa, they were out of international cricket. And what they did, they attracted the local sponsors and they started their domestic cricket under lights. They integrated it with their entertainment industry, and they had superior domestic tournaments, and such was the craze that the local provincial players, they were hounded by thousands and thousands and thousands of fans. So their cricket never died. And if you remember, once they came back in 1992, they were still relevant to the cricket they were playing, and they should have qualified. It was not England. They should have qualified for the finals, but unfortunately, it was not the Duckworth and Lewis. It was an absurd rain rule that kept them out. So South Africa actually just kept their standards alive. So I still believe that Pakistan now should invest and reinvest in infrastructure, state-of-the-art stadiums, the grounds, first-class grounds, they should be reinvigorated, and we should have proper pathways, well synced in school cricket, college cricket, grade 2 cricket, and then club cricket is very important and integral. At the end of the day, this is an opportunity lost, but the future gained.
Future gained indeed. Dr. Nauman, thank you so
My
much
pleasure.
for joining us. Always an honor having you besides us and talking about this. And obviously a detailed discussion, and we get to know, I think what we can take out from Doc Saab's words is that there is always a silver lining, and we can definitely take this opportunity to grow as a cricketing fraternity, as a nation, and make a strong mark on the world. That being said, from me and the entire team of Sports Extra, it's goodbye for now. Thank you, sir.